Hey everybody, K4K Crypto here. Totally honored to be here right before Richard Hart's part. I'm like the final boss before you get like the super loot at the end. I know time is valuable. I won't take your attention for granted. Thank you, Maddie, for setting all this up. Phenomenal conference, phenomenal speakers, many community members just donating their time and money, being awesome, helpful people in the community constantly. No other community has this many people, individuals who aren't even paid by like an a company who are like, "Hey, show our stuff and we'll pay you to do it. You make some money. If people join, great. If they don't, you still get paid." That doesn't happen in Hex. Everyone here is here by their own free will. They think and believe about it as much as they. That's why we're all here. They believe in it that much that we have a self-promoting conference annually online, and we go to Vegas. I mean, at least the last 2 years, which I was lucky enough to go the last time, and that was an amazing experience. I've personally made lifelong friends and have had unforgettable experiences with some people in the Hex community. Very, very powerful community. It's a one of a kind. Some people in the community are so awesome. They sent me chocolates for Christmas. What a surprise. I've never had C's candy, just sending me chocolates for Christmas. Another friend gave me this gold awesome coin, Flimmer from Germany. There we go. Germany. Another Hexagon took me racing in Vegas with like exotic cars. There's like a band from the exotic racing. We in the Hex community, like we recognize the people who provide value. That's why we all flock to Richard. He provides the most value out of anyone. And, we've had streamer awards, people who have contributed, and people put time and effort into just rewarding those in the community. It feels like a place where if you put in effort and you provide value to people, you get rewarded. It's kind of how like the world should be. So in Hexaco, we kind of had this amazing miniature world where people I feel like you actually get what you put in the Hex community. Not that it's just a place to go and try and build your numbers up or anything like that, but I think people just kind of flock to it because the people they hold you accountable when you're wrong and you're right. When you do good work, people commend you for it. Another person I want to commend is Aubrey de Grey, which Maddie keeps a close relationship with, which is awesome. To getting someone of that caliber to come into a Hex crypto focus type of stream. That guy is like a PhD in like brainomics, basically. Computer scientist. On top of that, like he does math for fun and has a way better beard than me. This is waiting for pulsechain launch, not shaving till pulsechain launch. Having that guy come on, and he's the guy working on the most important thing in the world, in my opinion. And I wouldn't have even found out about it if it wasn't for Richard. We're literally all here because of Richard. Like he cares about people so much that he tells people what they don't want to hear because he knows they need to hear it. And some people can take that as like being too blunt or too truthful, I guess. That I feel like the world needs a wake-up call in that regard with a lot of things like accountability and stuff like that. And Richard really hits the nail on the head with a lot of the stuff he says. And none of us would be here without Hex, obviously, and he created Hex. And he's creating even more awesome things coming up. Now, I do want to share something about Richard that Richard's been able to accomplish that no one else in history has ever been able to do. So I'm going to share a little bit of an experience that may resonate with you. I think it's a common story for people who come into crypto or come into any sort of investment tool at all. I wasn't into stocks and bonds and all that because I remember, if I think back before I knew markets, before I knew liquidity pools, before I knew trading or anything like that, thinking about stocks and investing was like this mystical, oh, it feels like, how do you know what to buy? There's all these questions. There's so many barriers before you get to even getting there to actually invest, to actually do it. There's all things telling you, oh, it's not worth it. Oh, it crashed. If you're on the outside looking in to like stock market and you have no interest, like no idea about markets at all, it's a very scary and daunting thing. It puts people off to hear markets go down. No one likes the idea of losing money. So what happens is people get in, if they finally break all those barriers, they get into crypto. In my instance, I thought, stocks and bonds, I was like, oh, all that headache, not even worth it. Make 10, 20% a year. LOL. I was like, not going to do that. And then I saw Bitcoin double in like a week. And I was like, well, that means I could have doubled my money. I better look in this stuff. In 2017 is when I got in. And so I would just read as much as I could, You look at YouTube, you look at Twitter, you look at Telegrams, you look at Discords, you're doing all the research, you're doing everything right. There's the wheel in crypto, I call it. It's the cycle that goes round and round. Noobs come in. Me noob come in 2017. I watch every influencer. They're talking about coins. They're so sure of everything. They're talking about it. I don't realize that these guys just talk about any coin. They're getting paid in the backside. They don't really care about it. Nobody sees that when they first come in. I'm just super noob guy. Don't know markets at all. I don't understand the core values of crypto. I don't know really much about it. I did know, luckily I knew some stuff about like Bitcoin and how it was important to like actually own your own stuff. Richard made everything else clear. What Richard was able to do was basically interrupt this cycle of people coming in, getting wrecked by the influencers, and then them leaving. And the people who didn't get wrecked are the people who started just selling courses and becoming influencers themselves and becoming a part of the problem. Those are the guys shilling all the centralized stuff that gets wrecked. There's no accountability in crypto, except when it came to finally Richard creating Hex, and it changed the paradigm. Now people can come in and they get to keep their economic energy into the next cycle and into the next cycle and into the next cycle because he codified exactly what was important in the baseline principles of why crypto was invented. He put it in the code, and better than Bitcoin, more secure. We've been running for 3 years, no problems. By this time in Ethereum's history, when from their launch and Bitcoin's history, they had some major issues. There was the DAO hack in Ethereum, and then there was also like the Bitcoin had the inflation bug in like 2010, and then huge Mt. Gox hacks because Bitcoin's just flawed in many ways. I'm not going to go over that right now. But Richard broke the wheel of crypto. Now, not everyone is on board yet, but they're gonna be, or they're just going to get wiped out and rinsed, and eventually, you can't keep it going when people just actually have something that holds their value. These people just keep growing up every cycle, and this group just keeps going and reset while we're just growing over here. Richard broke the wheel of crypto, and he's the only one who's ever been like managed to do this in a decentralized way with actual 100% uptime code, and it is something he should be proud of. We in the Hex community, we actually help others, unlike like we help others while helping ourselves. So people think that like telling someone about something that you're invested in is somehow a bad thing. I don't think the guys who helped their buddies get into Apple really early on in its days were like, oh, dude, I'm just the next guy buying. You're just trying, is this a pyramid scheme? No one bats an eye when it's a company and people invest in it and it's the next guy buying that pushes the price up. But in crypto, everyone thinks it's a Ponzi because they're not, I guess, sophisticated enough to understand the difference. We have people in Hex helping people by letting them join in and pushing their own bags up and everyone else with them. Everyone else in crypto, basically, they get you in and then send you to the meat grinder and ruin your life for a while. Like you start trading, you buy courses on how to lose money faster. It's crazy. Now there's people in Hex who have made generational wealth. I literally have shaken hands with people who are in the close to hundreds of millions of dollars category from Hex, like alone. That's insane. I don't know of any traders who just have this extra 100 mil they got in less than 2 years. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of amazing opportunity still on the bone in Hex, especially after these big drawdowns. Now, one thing I saw today was there's a guy who did an 1,100 day stake. He bought $1.7 million of Hex for $107 3 years ago. He staked it the whole time, ended on time today. It's worth 65K. That dude turned $107 into 65K. Oh, it's worth over $1 million at the top. Do you think this guy's upset that he's down 95%? Or do you think he's thinking about, wow, I'm so glad I listened to Richard and now I'm up 650x my money in 3 years? Who else is up 650x in the bear market? Hexicans are up 650x in the bear market. That's it. No one else, just the Hexicans, guys. That's the difference. Like, that's why what Richard says that if you want to mess up everyone's like reality with caring about top down, you just wick the price up, 10,000x, bring it back down to the same exact price it was today. Are you down 99.99%? Or maybe the market's a little irrational sometimes and for certain periods of time. You can use any tool incorrectly. You can use a baseball bat to defend your house or destroy everything in your house. You can destroy everything. Like, money is just a tool. Hex is just a tool. If you use it correctly, maybe generational wealth. Use it incorrectly, yes, you can sell too early. Yes, you can emergency end stake and pay a penalty. That's why it's an emergency end stake button. How many of you would have been able to hold your $100 investment all the way up over $1 million and then down to 65? Would you be able to hold it even up to $1,000, up to $5,000? $10,000? Like, do you honestly believe you'd be able to hold it that long and not sell it? Hex saved this person from selling too early, and they got paid to do it. You got paid to do the best possible action. Hex allows you to make staking ladders. If he had ladders stakes out, he wasn't forced to possibly emergency unstake because he could have spaced out stakes so he doesn't have just one big stake. And so if he wanted to end something, say a liquidity crunch comes along, maybe a bear market, he can end one of his 10 stakes instead of all like his one big one and lose his 1100 days of interest of amazing accrual. You can actually protect yourself from these uncertain times by spacing out your risk. I don't know about anything else that can do that but Hex. So one thing I want to get across is cost is not value. Value is value and cost is cost. Warren Buffett says this, and he's coined the term price is what you pay and value is what you get. And when we talk about cryptos, a crypto is most valuable to you based on its ability to appreciate. Cryptos do extremely well in inflationary environments, which the world is in because we have central banking, and they inflate the money supply. They make their currencies worth less. And so you just see these charts going up and to the right forever. And so they store value extremely well. Bitcoin is up more than anything else in the history of man, albeit it's very volatile. And like I said earlier in that story of like when I first got into markets, it was bewildering to me looking at a chart at all. Like I can think back to when I looked at a chart and I was like, it's like I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing because I was such new. And like you're not even really trying to get into it. It was just like at the face value, you're like, oh, there's a chart of Coca-Cola. And so I think that's how most people see crypto. And they just hear about the hacks. They hear about, oh, how it's unsecure. Oh, they hear about how this happened and that happened. If we only had Hex, we wouldn't see any of those stories because there'd be no story to have except for all these amazing gains everybody's having. But we happen to have some free market left, and it's still ongoing and powerful in crypto. And so people are allowed to create these other things and promote them, and they do. But I think we do need a lot more accountability in crypto, and I think Hex ecosystem brings that to crypto, and that's why a lot of crypto people don't like us. They don't like the mirror being turned on them. Like they're like, "Oh, I'm ugly," and we're showing it to them. And they don't like that. Sure, we can get them with more honey and not vinegar. You know, some people aren't worth saving, I think, sometimes. When pulsechain and pulsex come out, here's a little nuanced take I have. This is the last thing I'll have. One of these influencers who are, large following, they sacrificed, they're going to share that with their audience at some point. Now, the difference between getting introduced to any old project and a Richard Hart project is that once you're in and you experience the gains in the 100% flawless operation, 100% uptime, great community, life-changing generational wealth, optionality, oh my gosh, it's amazing. When they get introduced to something that's real and life-changing, do you think they're going to respect those streamers anymore that kept Hex from them? Do you think they're just going to tell their friends about this new opportunity they found that actually is working great, and they're also going to buy more? Like when you get into something and it goes up insane, you're going to tell your friends, you're going to buy more. So I think that's the nuanced take, is that these people that get onboarded from these guys finally letting their audiences know about Richard Hart products because they have money in it, they want to get more. They're actually just going to buy more and tell all their friends, and they're not going to respect these guys as much. So I think that's something to look forward to. I had all this bullish stuff to talk about too, but I'm out of time. Thanks, Maddie.